Hello there and Haley. I am not quite sure whether I'll actually publish this episode because this is gonna involve quite a bit of farming. Because I wanna prepare for some further dungeon adventures and also the next part of the main quest, which means I need a ton of money. And also I need some more hit points, and a good way to do that is to go into a dungeon and farm a little bit there, and I will stick to levels 1 and 2 because I don't want my armor to be destroyed by another gelatinous cube, and also it seems to be the most efficient way to stick to these levels. So let's just run around and kill some enemies and just keep farming. And I have to say, I mentioned this before, but I'm really enjoying this whole experience. You know, when I was considering, you know, the first few topics I could talk about in YouTube videos, I was considering many different things, and I was like, okay, you know, I would like to take a look and revisit some older games that I played, and you know, talk a little bit about the history of video games, or at least the history of like RPGs, and you know, revisit some of the games I used to love as a kid and teenager. But at this point, I'm really enjoying it a lot, and I'm looking forward to eventually finishing this game with you. And I would also like to do some more old Ultima games. And it sounds pretty, I don't know, very ambitious, but I would eventually like to go and do all the Ultima games in Let's Plays, you know, all the way up to Ultima Online, which unfortunately was not the most wonderful ending to a wonderful series of games. But I have to see whether I'll actually do that. I don't want to run out of steam. And sometimes, you know, I don't know, sometimes I have like an issue with my attention span. It's not like I've ADHS or something, it's just that, you know, sometimes I set myself some ambitious goals and then I run out of interest. It's not like I'm giving up and as in I've been defeated, it's just that, you know, my interest goes elsewhere. And I don't want that to happen. So for now, I am toying with the thought of actually playing the other Ultima games. And that surely would be nice. But I'll just see what happens. And so yeah, let's just farm a little more. Bunch of enemies attacking me here. Let's open the coffin. They won't let me open the coffin. And yeah, it was 1 copper, 1 silver, so 11 coins. It's not exactly an amazing amount. This floor is rather small. I think so, at least. Oh yeah, I remember it was that spiraling kind of thing. And I could go down to level 3 here. So many enemies. Yeah. I guess the end of that level. So let's move back. Oops. Hello. Let's move back. And maybe go up again to level 1. actually not really worried anymore about getting lost, because if I do get lost, I mean, this is not like the biggest level or anything, but if I would get lost for some reason, I could just use ladder up and get out again. And so yeah, that's keep thinking, since I know the later games pretty well, and also I'm very familiar with Ultima Online because that's a game I played a lot. I played that between 1997 and 2003 or 2004. I think I stopped playing it. I'm not trying to say I played that game, you know, I don't know, 4 hours a day for 6 or 7 years. I played it on and off, but there were some periods where I spent so much time in Ultima Online. And while I'm farming, maybe let me share that little story with you. I remember this was in 1997, and I bought a gaming magazine, and it had a story on this game, Ultima Online, and it, of course, piqued my interest because it mentioned Ultima. And so I read the article, and they were talking about how in that game you could run around in the world of Ultima and interact with other players, fight against them, fight with them, go on adventures with them. And that to me sounded intriguing because, I mean, this was 1997. There were some online games, of course, like the classic Mud and stuff. But, you know, it was still a pretty new concept to have, like, you know, online games. So that to me sounded incredibly intriguing. But what sounded even more intriguing was what the editor, the author of the article, also wrote, because he went on about how you could do other stuff in the game as well. Like, for example, you could actually pick a profession and do that profession in game, and for example, become a carpenter. So you could, they described it like you could go out and knock down some trees and cut them into shapes and then make stuff for other adventures, for other players. Like furniture for their houses, or if you would have the fletching skill, you could make bows and arrows for them. So you could supply other players with stuff, and or you could be a fisherman and you know, make food for other players. And they actually described this, and you know, said that when they tried the game, there were people like doing nothing else. Some people. But, you know, logging in, fishing, to chill a little bit, which kind of reminds me of the current Let's Play of Dredge that I am doing. And, you know, cooking that into food and selling it to other players. And I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I know it sounds weird because, that's nothing unusual these days. Because you got a bunch of online games where you can do professions, where you can do other stuff than just fighting. And, you know, you've got also to have all the Sims games and everything that let you do something like that. But back then, I mean, you know, there were not many MMOs. I had never played an MMO. And Ultima Online was, I think, the first very popular online game. I think they were even quite surprised by the success, by the amount of orders they got. And to imagine that, you know, running around in Britannia, that world that I knew from all these games, you know, and running around and like going to the dungeons that I had seen in, let's say, Ultima 6 or something, that sounded so fascinating, because I could run into other players. I could do these adventures with other players. It was pretty new back then. And so yeah, that really helped my interest. And some point a little later, I actually got the game Ultima Online and got myself an account and started playing. And of course, the first thing I did was I tried to get to the main city, right? And visit the castle of Lord British. Back then, Richard Garriott, the inventor of the series, he occasionally logged in as Lord British into the game. And there is this very famous thing from the beta where he logged in with his character as Lord British, and suddenly that Lord British that you'd know from the game, I mean, he's in this game. That's the king I picked up the first quest from. Suddenly he would be in this online game. You would be standing there with other players. You would look at Lord British. He would talk to you, and it would be a real person. That was back then. It was really fascinating for me. And there's that famous scene from the beta where a player managed to actually kill Lord British. He used some kind of like a flame field spell, and Garrett had forgotten to set his character to invulnerable. So the guy actually managed to kill him. And yeah, that's quite a popular event from the early days of online gaming. Okay, so let me see. I've got about 5,800 hit points almost. And let me see what happens. Because there was a question in the comments asking how, what's the transfer rate of the hit points? And I don't think it's 1-to-1. So I don't think for 1,000 coins, I think you get more than 1,000 hit points. Let's see. So we got 5,796. Let's transact with the king and offer pence and give him 1,000. Yeah, it's 1.5 is the transfer rate. So that is pretty good because I want to get up to the max hit points, 9,999. I think they fixed that thing. I think in one of the earliest Ultima games, and it might have been this one, there was a little bug where if you get to that amount of hit points, to the max, it would roll over to all the way back to 1. And I think that was fixed in some kind of like a patch. I mean, you couldn't download those patches, of course, in the early 80s. But yeah. Let's go in there. And what did I want? Oh yeah, magic. Wanted to get the rest of those letter up spells. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, letter up 12, letter down 11. Pretty cool. So we're set for the next dungeon adventure. Just need to farm up more hit points. Once again, I'm not quite sure whether I'll actually upload this video, because this is mostly me rambling on about, the early days of online gaming and how I got into Ultima Online. And also, I'm doing some pretty mindless grinding here, but still I'm enjoying it. And I don't know about you. I wonder, the people watching these videos, and I'm really grateful for each and every one of you who's watching these videos or is leaving a like. I wonder how many of you actually played these games back then. I talked to one of you in my live stream yesterday, and we were talking about like the old days. And I remember a comment, two saying, talking about like this was my childhood. So yeah, if you played those games, I don't know if watching these videos, watching me playing these games brings back a little bit of that magic. I hope it does, because it does for me. You know, I guess it's just a hefty dose of nostalgia that I'm feeling. And yeah, it's just fun to go back here and rediscover this game. And I'm looking forward to finishing it at some point. And then we'll see whether I'll move on. So yeah. I might do a comparison at some point between what's more efficient, whether that's more efficient to stay on levels 1 and 2. That's what I thought, and then one of the comments said that as well, you know. But maybe if I would go to level 5 or 6 and try there, maybe I wouldn't. It would still be efficient. You know, the problem is I don't want to lose too many hit points because I have to buy those back. Or maybe levels 3 and 4, if I don't run into a gelatinous cube and don't lose my armor, maybe that's sufficient as well. Don't know. Maybe I'll do a little comparison there, little examination. So yes, we're kind of domineering these hallways by now. And let me do one more thing. I would like to show you I'm gonna go. Oh, I actually left my air car. Let's do a little experiment. Because in Ultima Online, I mentioned before that one fascinating thing was to actually go with other players into the dungeons I knew from the games, like Desert and Doom and Wrong and these kind of dungeons. But you know, that was just unreal to go in there in an online world. And in Ultima Online and other games, the dungeons would be slightly different. Like I remember one of the dungeons had more dragons, for example, than others did. And in this game, dungeons pretty much are the same. They change the further you go down. I mean, we saw this before when I go down to level 5 and 6. There are harder enemies and stuff. But I don't think it makes any difference what dungeon I go to. Would be silly if I would find out it does, but I don't think it does. So let us look for yet another dungeon. There's one close by, several ones close by, there are a bunch of them. So here's the other town. Let's shoot that pirate ship. And the necromancer over there. Oops. There we go. And we're almost at the point where we can get max level HP because at this rate I should, if it's 1.5, I should get 900 hit points if I hand in the money now. But I said I would like to check out. There we go. So let's go in here, take a quick peek around. This is the Dungeon of Montour. Been here before for a quick check-in. So, and you can see we're being attacked by a giant rat, a bat, a skeleton, another rat. So it's basically the same kind of enemies. And once again, Ultima Online, this used to be different. There were dungeons with more dragons. There used to be dungeons with different types of enemies, and then there were these champion spawns at the bottom of the dungeon, which would let you summon some really hard bosses, like a spider. I think it was Mephitas was the name. And so yeah, there the dungeons would make a difference. And I think the first dungeon that you'd usually go to was called Covetous, It was also in some of the Ultima games, of course. And I think that had like a lot of headless monsters in there. So yeah. There was some variety there. And so you could pick, you know, whatever you wanted to farm for, or what kind of challenge you wanted. You could pick the right dungeon for what you liked. And here it was still very basic, but once again, I don't think that is due to the creativeness or creativity of the developer and inventor of these games. It's mainly due to the fact that technically he couldn't have done all that. I don't think that would have fit on a disc if he would have made every dungeon totally different with different enemies and stuff. So, and again, considering the time that this came out, this was pretty much, yeah, I mean, this was like, I guess, comparable to like a AA game, something. Like a pretty versatile and interesting and well-made game. Yeah, I shouldn't do the overland thing because it's less efficient. Because with the dungeon I get the hit points back when I leave. But I'm just rambling on here, traveling around a little bit. And we're almost at the point where we're ready for the final dungeon quest, I guess. So let's kill a few more guys. And let me go once more into my favorite dungeon. And do a little more because we need 2,300 something hit points. So at an exchange rate of 1 to 1.5, that should be about, I guess, 1,500, 1,600 coins or something that I need. So we're getting close to that. So let me do one more quick farming run. Hope you're not bored. If so, hope the next episode will be a bit more interesting again. But farming is a part of this game and many other games too, and it never really bothered me. So, another coffin. And we're actually getting there pretty quickly now. Unlock that chest. We're also pretty far with our experience. I mean, I should be level 8 now, and that should be enough, because I remember, I don't know what quest it was, but for one of the quests you needed to be level 8. So I guess I already, yeah, I made that. Got there. And I think one thing I really like is that I talked about this in one of the previous videos. Gary had actually went and reinvented the thing, you know, the concept of the games quite a bit. Because I mentioned before, these first 3 games are all about killing the big bad guy, looking for the MacGuffin. Damn it, I'm surrounded here. And then eventually he went into something more, you know, thoughtful, where you actually had to be an avatar of the different virtues and pay attention, you know, to those virtues, and you know, be a shining avatar of virtues like honesty and compassion and courage, and humility. So that was pretty cool. And you pretty much had to do that to win the game, which was an interesting concept at a time when so many of these games were just about, you know, you're the hero, go out there, kill a dragon, save the princess, whatever, and to go and say, hey, you know what, this is about trying to be a better or different person and trying to do good things and live a good life. That was pretty cool. And you had to think a little bit, had to figure out how to, you know, how to actually do that and be that avatar. I mean, what do you have to do to show humility or compassion? And I remember one of the mechanics, I think, regarding valor or courage was that you could not run from battles. I mean, you could run from battles, but you shouldn't, because that would take away your courage or valor. So, yeah, stuff like that. And I think there was this invisible score, and if you actually fled from battle, from combat, it would take away parts of your courage points, I guess. So yeah, let's see how far along we are. Let us go back. Maybe you're feeling relief. Maybe you already switched to another video after all that farming. And I hope I'm not boring you with my rambling here. It's just so much fun to talk about these old games and see what I can remember. And yeah. Oh, it actually didn't take into account the fact that I also get the hit points when I leave the dungeon. So I don't even have to spend all that money. And so let us talk to the king. Let us give him transact pence 1,100. Cool, cool. We're at pretty much max hit points now. Also got a ton of food. We're almost at level 9. And so yeah, we're ready for the end game, I guess. Let me check once more whether anything has changed about the stores. I don't think it has. I think at this point I can buy anything. Yeah, it's the same stuff. I think I can buy anything already that's available. So, magic missile. There's one thing I still haven't figured out, or I don't seem to remember. I always wonder, why would I drink at the pub? So, let's see. Let's buy. No rumors, I guess. And I can't sell anything because it tells me, you know, we already have liquor. So yeah. Okay, so I'm pretty much set for going even further down into the dungeons. We have ladder up and ladder down spells, so we can actually go for that lich and the battle run. And so we're gonna do that next. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope I didn't bore you too much. And yeah, if you've got anything you'd like to share about your history of Ultima, or if you'd like to share what's interesting you about these videos, share it in the comments. I'd love to read it. So thanks for watching, and fare thee well and safe travels. Bye bye.